to make a big batch of tomato sauce to put in freezer bags and put in my deep freezer. And I had purchased at the fruit stand the other day, I had purchased a 25-pound box of tomatoes. So I've already washed them all up. These are the ones I'm putting up. I have set aside 5 for just eating tomatoes, like my daughter might want a tomato sandwich or whatever. And these are the ones, whenever you get a big box of tomatoes, there's always going to be some in there that's got some bad spots on it. So I'm just going to cut off the bad spots. See right there, that's got a bad spot. So I'm just going to cut that off. And so that's fine. All I'm going to do is put an X at the bottom. There's the bottom of the tomato. I'm just going to slice through and slice through. And I just have a little X there. And so that when we drop them in the water for a few seconds and pull them out, the skin will just slip right off. So I'm going to trim up these. So here's another. This tomato has a really big bad spot. So I'm just going to cut that off. I don't know if you can see it. This side of the tomato is fine. This side needs to go away. So I'm just going to cut this whole tomato in half, just right down that middle. And this is the bad side. Toss it and cut off a little bit of this over here. You can kind of tell, see, this is still a little bit of bad right there, so I'm going to cut that off. But it still leaves basically half of the tomato. And I'm just going to take this core out. And I don't even need to make an X because the skin is already cut. So that one really doesn't need an X anywhere. And drop it into my bowl. And toss this. Okay, everything else. Let's see, no, there's a bad spot right there. Cut the core out. And I'm just choking up on the knife and putting my thumb here to go around that core. And it gets it out. So see, this one, the whole top needs to come off. And so the rest of this tomato is just fine. I just need to make my little X in the bottom. And that's ready. And here's another one. Bad spot right there. Let's get rid of that. And the rest of this one's okay. Got that core out. Make my X. Alright. I finished up trimming away the bad spots on the tomatoes that had bad spots, and now I'm just going to core each tomato and put an X in the bottom of it. Alright, let me show you exactly what I'm doing. I'm holding the knife behind the sharp part. I've got my thumb at the very tip, and I'm going to put it in at an angle, and I'm just going to go around, resting my thumb on the tomato, going in kind of deep so that I want to try to get the whole core out. And there we go. Came out. And I'm just going to put my little X in the bottom. And I'm going to finish up all of these, and I'll be back. Okay, I have got everybody cored. Everybody's got an X in the bottom. So now I've got this big pot of boiling water, and I'm just going to drop each one in, leave it for, I don't know, probably 10 to 20 seconds, somewhere around there. Bring it back up to a good boil. Okay. So I'm just going to drop it in there for a few seconds and then fish it out with my with my little thingy and put it in this bowl of ice water. So, 2, 3. We'll do about 3 at a time. What this is going to do is loosen the skin so it just start at the X and just peels right off. So we're going to leave those in there for just a few seconds. Alright, I'll say that's good enough. And we're just going to drop these in the bowl of ice water. And that just basically stops it from cooking and cools it off. And now I can handle it. And look here. Skin just peels right off. So, and that's just how easy it is to get the peel off. And it all comes off. Look at there. And I just throw that away, and it takes just the skin and leaves nice tomato. So I'm going to do that with all of these, and I'll be right back. Alright, now all of my tomatoes have been peeled, and I have switched out to the largest pot I've got, and let me get that going. So I will see if I can get all of these in. I don't know if I can, but I've got a lot of tomatoes to get in here. But we're going to start with just a little bit of olive oil. Let me see. I just want enough to coat the bottom. I put probably 2 tablespoons of olive oil in the bottom of that. And then I'm going to put some of this. Let me open this. This is, all this is onions, bell peppers, celery, and little parsley. So yes, I'm cheating. Sometimes you got to do what you got to do to get things done, and when it's on sale I buy this stuff and then I don't have to chop it. So I'm just gonna probably put about a cup of this in, because this is going to be a big batch of tomato sauce. And we're going to cook that down for probably 5 minutes, and then I'll come back. My onions, bell peppers, parsley, and celery are cooking up. I don't want to get it too brown. Matter of fact, I think I might need to add a little bit more oil. Let me add a little oil to that. Okay, I added about 1 more tablespoon of oil. Okay, and I need to cut this down. This is a cast iron pot, so it gets really hot. So I had the heat cranked all the way up, and I just backed it down a little bit because it was getting too hot. So now I'm going to add some garlic powder. Just some garlic powder. Let me get a spoon. So I'm going to put in about a tablespoon. Wipe off my spoon, because I'm going to I've got basil and oregano, so I'm going to put about a tablespoon of each of those in. And this is a big pot, so I'm going to put some Himalayan pink salt in it. But I'm not going to put a whole tablespoon. I'm going to put about half. So let me get about half in there. So, yeah, about half. And I can always add more salt later. Yep, you can add more salt, but you can't take it out. And I have some black pepper that I'm going to put in. I'm just going to this is probably, I probably put in half a teaspoon. Again, I can add more if it doesn't have enough. So that's everything in there. Now all I'm going to do is cut up these tomatoes. I'm just going to rough cut them because later on I'm going to use my immersion blender and make it smooth. So I just need to cut them up. I don't want to put them in whole. So I'm just going to slice them up and chunk it up about like that. So just really, really large pieces. They're going to break down, and then, like I said before, I will use my immersion blender. So I'm just going to chop all my tomatoes, put them in the pot, and I'll be back. Y'all, I filled my pot, and I still have a good many tomatoes left, so I had to start another pot. So what I'm doing is just chunking them up, and I have discovered that if I just leave it all on this board, it goes a lot faster. I just slice it up. Into big chunks. And keep adding tomatoes. I'm just cutting them in half and then big chunks like that. I'll lay the flat side down and scoot them to the side until I get my board filled up. And then lift the whole board, because you want that juice that the board is collecting to go into the pot. So I just dump them all in and get me another board full of tomatoes. So that gets a good many tomatoes in the pot at once, because originally I was just slicing them up and dropping them in, but this is going quicker this way. My tomatoes over here in this pot have come to a boil. I have not added any water to them. So these have come to a boil, and I'm going to let them boil like that for just a few minutes, and then I'll drop the heat and put the lid on it. So we're going to let that go, and I'm just going to keep adding the rest of these tomatoes to this pot, and I'll be back. Alright, I've got all the tomatoes chopped in the pots, and the tomato sauce is going. After all that, I only lost one little chunk that hit the floor. Managed to get everything else in the pot. So I'm going to let this cook. This is almost up to a boil. I'll let it boil. When it comes to a boil, I'll let it boil for a couple of minutes, and then I'm going to drop the heat down. This one is cooking and looking good. So I'm just going to come back, stir every so often, but I'm going to let these pots cook for about 2 hours. I'm just going to keep stirring every little, you know, maybe every 15-20 minutes, come back and stir, and then when they're done, I will show you what we got. Alright, the tomatoes are done cooking. I took the lid off of both pots and let some of the liquid cook off for probably about the last 20 minutes or so. The stove is now off, and I'm going to use my immersion blender to puree it up. So we still have chunks, but it's all cooked down. Move this one and slide this one over, and I'm going to do the same thing here. Alright, see this? It's thick. It's nice. Let me see let me see how it is. Okay, we are done, and let me get a bigger spoon here. It's nice and thick, good consistency. They're both about the same. Now we just have to let it cool off, and when it's cool, I'll bag it up into zipper bags. Well, the tomato sauce is all done. Time has gotten away from me, and I had to just pour it into all these different containers so I can get it put away, and we'll just have to bag it up another evening. But you know, single mom and only one weekend, you got to prioritize. I had to stop and cut grass and do other weekend chores, so we'll just bag it up another day. This is how much I've got. This pitcher holds a gallon, and then I've got 2 quarts and then 2 pints. I will bag up the majority of this. I plan on leaving one of these little pint jars in the refrigerator to use this week in different things. But it tastes really amazing. I mean, you could eat a bowl of that and it'd be just tomato soup. It's so good. So anyways, there it is. It's all done.